and welcome back to the channel. I am Joy, and if you saw the title of today's video, this is going to be another two-parter because, and I think I'm going to film this, I'm not sure if I'm going to film this today or tomorrow, and when they're going to go up. It will depend on when YouTube allows it. So, I want to talk a little bit about cancel culture, the science behind it, and why it is destined to not just fail, but do the opposite of what was intended to do. So if you saw recently, I've done some videos on Trisha Paytas and her mental health. I've also done videos on the cancellation of Dawson, and I've done some videos on Onision. These are three people that I think all have issues, especially Onision, but I also think are very misunderstood. Not, by the way, especially with him, I'm not excusing the behavior. I don't like the things he's done, and they shouldn't have been done. But I want to kind of go on this track because I can come at this from the inside of somebody who was at one point canceled. And I kind of want to explain why this is going to backfire massively. And this will tie into another video I will be doing at some point. So if you see a link in the description or a link up here, then you'll have it about why I no longer agree with the SJW or the anti-SJW kind of theories. And it's not that I disagree with a lot of them. It's more that I have more depth and insight and perspective into it. So, also, some of these videos you guys are going to see, you guys know, anybody who used to watch my former channel, I love to just free talk. YouTube doesn't. So if you see a lot of weird cuts in places or all of a sudden it gets quiet and you see text, I want you to be aware that's why I'm trying so hard. The system can get triggered in so many different ways, depending on what you say. So just want to let you know if some of the videos seem a little weird. Also, I know in a lot of my videos lately, I've been super, fast talkative and hyper. Some I'm not gonna be, and I think I said this the other day, so I've been having some vagus nerve issues. Not a big deal. But it makes, this, I think I told you all the other day I had some gastroparesis. That's done. I can take antispasmodic medication within about a day-ish. It goes away within 24 hours. But then I have this after effect of vagus nerve issues. The vagus nerve is your nerve from your butt to your brain stem. And this nerve controls, it's a nerve that connects to all the other nerves that control the automatic functions of your body. And it's not that severe anymore. Sometimes it's bad. It'll feel like I'm being choked from my butt to my throat. I know that's not gonna make any sense to anybody else. It's crazy. It feels like an alien's crawling up there. It makes sense now. It's a vagus nerve thing. It's getting better. Right? And it's funny enough, I remember when I was younger and I had my stepmom was a nurse and she said, gosh, it sounds like you have a chronic fatigue syndrome. And now I laugh thinking, because one of the big things for me is when this happens, I get very weak. I can still film. Getting ready was fun. But that's why if you guys remember back in the day, I'd be like, well, if I take a shower, it takes a while. Or not takes a while. Some days I just couldn't do it. I can now. There's almost, every day I'm almost, functional in situations like that now. But I always wonder, I'll make a video about this at some point about the vagus nerve, but I always wonder how many people who get just this, blanket diagnoses are fibromyalgia is a blanket diagnosis for pain, chronic pain, but they don't understand what it is. And I've had that diagnosis as well as chronic fatigue syndrome. And I'm like, how many people have vagus nerve issues? And I'm not saying that's what it is for everybody, but I think this is an area of science and medicine that's very underexplored. These are very kind of new diagnoses. That have come to the forefront. Thank God for my doctor. Thank God, the most wonderful doctor at the Oklahoma Heart Center who helped me figure all this out. Thank goodness. But, sorry, little digression, but y'all know me. I like to just kind of have a conversation. Also, I'm wearing sparkles! Makes me happy. Okay, let's get into this. So, why will cancel culture backfire? And this, again, is going to tie into the anti-SJW video that I'm going to do. So, and I'm talking about this, A, as somebody who's been canceled, as you guys know, and B, I'm speaking about this from my experience of being canceled and coming back and seeing other big, wonderful creators get canceled. Now, look, I fully believe if somebody is being detrimental to their audience in some way, and it's intentional, or they refuse to want to make changes and they want to continue to do things that could harm their audience, I agree that those people shouldn't be in the position of power to have a platform. But I also have another thought process about this. I feel like many of the creators who go after to try to cancel people, it's not a moral obligation. It's not that the people are, a detriment to their audience. It's just for attention. It's trying to ruin somebody's life for attention. when it happened to me, the months leading up to it, there were campaigns to try to find any which way to get in there to try to do this to me, because my character, how I had been kind of known, was somebody, you know, everybody really liked me for the most part. You know, I had a little bit of chaos because of my illness, and I'm not going to lie about that. But people liked me. My content was really popular. I was a, you know, up and coming YouTuber. I probably would have been, I always kind of cringed. I'm like, how far could I have gone? But you know what? I also think it wasn't supposed to happen at that time. I think the best thing I could have done at that time was to delete my channel, really. So I'm sad that it happened, but I don't have regrets, if that makes sense. But I've been thinking a lot about cancel culture because I saw what happened to Shane and Jenna Marbles. And it's funny because I'm not really a huge fan of both of them. And what I mean by that is I don't sit and watch that. Now, not Jake Paul. Shane I got more into with the Jake Paul series were the first Shane Dawson videos I think I really watched. I think in the past I had seen little blips of stuff, but I didn't really know what it was. I really wasn't into it. No disrespect to him. But like, I'm talking like, you know, in the 2000s, right? And then I remember he was some dude that Onion kissed, and Onion was mad because I guess he didn't like reciprocate or didn't want to be his friend or his, you know, blank buddy or whatever. Like, I don't know. But, and I watched, and you know, and Jenna Marbles, I knew who Jenna was. I think you know, these are people like I knew who they were, didn't know much about them. So I have a little more understanding for Shane. It's weird. I became, I guess, kind of more of a fan like later. But Jenna, you know, I'm not a super fan of her content, and I'm also not a super fan of all Shane's content. I like the Jake Paul series. I like some of the stuff I never saw the Jeffree. I've never sat through a Jeffree Star video, by the way. And no disrespect to him. Makeup's not my thing. Same thing. I've never done a James Charles video. Like, I'm not in those communities, right? I mean, clearly you can tell I'm not in the beauty community. And no disrespect. I think makeup, when done, you know, within moderation or balance, is an art. But just like anything, you can go out of balance with it, right? As long as, you know, you still learn to feel secure in yourself. But then that's a whole other, I could go down that, but then I can argue that and go down the medical route of like, well, some people wear makeup because they have skin conditions that they can't fit. Like, I can see several sides of this, so I'm going to shut up about makeup. Do whatever you want to do, basically. But I've been thinking about this, and I've been really heartbroken watching what's happened to these people, right? Because the sad thing is, like with Jenna seemed like she was really trying to do activism for minority communities. And Shane had issued several apologies and taken down content over the years and has really actively tried to change and done a lot of good for people. And watching people go so harsh at two people who I think are well-intentioned, who weren't trying to be negative. They were just living in the time that they lived in. And then when they realized the impact they had, they worked to make changes. And watching people say, we're going to ruin your career and screw you, it has really left a horrible taste in my mouth. And I have a concern. And here's my concern. Typically, a counterculture is there because the culture in one form or another has gone too extreme. I know because I've been a part of the counterculture. So for instance, when I was growing up in the Midwest, it was still the Bible Belt, and people were still staunchly holding on to their religion in a negative way, right? Be whoever you want to be, religiously, spiritually, as long as you're not hurting yourself or other people, like, more power to you, right? Everybody has their own journey. I'm very spiritual. It's just a private thing for me. But with that being said, it was a very big Bible Belt situation, and it was not a safe place for the LGBT to be able to be who they were or even express who they were on any level. It was a very weird time, and I was considered weird and fringe because I was one of those people that said, no, we should love everybody and accept everybody. Who cares what you're doing in private? But the culture since the early 2000s, because I graduated 2003 in high school, has flipped. And the culture flipped to an extreme form of liberalism where everything is about the pronouns of what animal spirit you identify with. I'm going extreme when I say that. Look, if you want to, you can feel however you want in your soul and ask people to refer to you as however you want. I don't care, right? Do whatever's right for you. And I think most people within respect will try to respect that. With me, if you were ever meet me, if I don't, it's because I have memory issues. I'm never going to remember your name, period. It's no disrespect. It's not like, oh, you're not worth my time. It's, I have issues. I have physical issues. But there's a counterculture swing. And I feel like we are going to start to see that come up more and more. Now, I think we had that with, and again, I'll talk more about this in detail with like the anti-SJW content. I think that's why it was so popular. I also think, by the way, love him or hate him, I'm not sitting here saying I'm pro-Trump or anti-Trump, okay? But that's also a reason why somebody like Trump would get into office, because the counterculture took over. I think the counterculture would still be on the rise, but we have the big social tech companies who have kind of squashed, and they have, really muted all of those voices. I've had mixed feelings about that, but I also can understand why they did it, because there's also in that area, because I used to do a lot of anti-SJW videos, there's a lot of toxicity and cruelty and meanness that can happen within that side of YouTube, and hypocrisy that runs rampant. So again, I'll have another video about that, why I don't really adhere to those beliefs. Also, a lot of misogyny over there. I find a lot of misogyny. I think to really open my eyes to the world of misogyny, took me to get very sick from birth control and nobody would believe me, and then putting myself in the anti-SJW world. It took that for me to see certain things. And then, on top of that, it's just the concept of, I think a lot of the people who are on the extreme liberal side have mental illness issues. And if not, they are people who've got a lot of issues, a lot of trauma, PTSD, or they've had a lot of things happen in their lives where people haven't tried to listen to them, hear them, or understand them. And I'm like, why would we want to just be mean to those people? That's just being mean for the sake of being mean. And I don't agree with that. I don't. I know it's kind of funny to poke at some people sometimes. It can be kind of entertaining, but as I kind of step back and look, and I was like, oh, I see there's another side. And there's some points to their logic, right? There's some certain points that I would agree with. You have to get strong enough in yourself not to allow people to, make you feel bad or make you feel a certain way. At the same time, if you have a whole society that's set up, that's against your body and your health, and when it does negative effects to your health, you're not even believed and you can't get help. It's a totally different situation. It's not just mind over matter. And that's what a lot of women go through. I would love to do a video one day. Sound off if you'd like to see this. I have some really interesting takes on the, I feel like, I want to try to be in respect to everybody, but I also kind of want to go deeper on topics. I have some opinions about, some philosophies about women's reproductive rights and whether or not they should have choices to do what they want with their body, please, and fur. I think they should, but also at the end of the day, I think we need to demand better choices. To end the life of something, and destroy a female life or destroy female health or end the health of that female person for another life. I feel like we should have better options than that, or better options than to poison ourselves with birth control. And how have we come so far in, I keep thinking about this, how have we come so far in technology and we can't get rid of a virus? How have we come so far and we can't get rid of cancer? How have we come so far and we don't have more effective ways of birth control that aren't going to hurt people? These are, and by the way, they're questions. They're questions that don't make sense to me, right? So here's my concern with all this cancellation. There's a lot of canceling, and again, some of it I understand. But there's a lot of it that's running around just because people want to be mean for attention and for money. Now, first of all, the people that do that, it comes back. Oh, it comes back around. I have learned this being on YouTube. Karma comes. The majority of people who had boo to say about me, so much stuff has come to light about them, and their credibility has been shot, especially when the majority of what was said was lies. Not all, but I would say 90%. It was either lies or stretched so far out into oblivion, it wasn't real anymore. Here's the thing. When you go too extreme with something, and again, we had kind of the SJWs, so you had the anti-SJWs come, right? So now we have cancel culture. Well, what's next? We're up for anything. That's going to be the counterculture, because again, when the pendulum swings one way, I feel like the natural order, whatever you want to call the universe or earth or whatever, a pendulum will swing until it gets back into balance and we find the wisdom and truth on both sides. I feel like I've just watched this happen routinely. And another thing, if you watch in history, just history of how things go in different countries and around the planet, this is a thing that you see, repeatedly. What was the antithesis to the Black Plague, the Renaissance? There are things like that. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, because I saw so many comments on my Dawson, my first Shane Dawson video, you need to understand why we're canceling him. He did this, this, and this. I'm like, I get it. But a lot of the young people cannot comprehend we lived in a time that was not safe for our generation. These kids have grown up in a bubble of safety we didn't have. We grew up as mini adults with adult responsibilities. And we grew up with kind of more of a narrative that adults preying upon younger people, children, was more acceptable. And that's what it was. And if you want to challenge me on that, let's look at R. Kelly. I mean, there are so many examples. I think he's a great one because I remember hearing that rumor at 11 and 12 about what he did, and it was kind of like, oh, that's weird, that's gross. But that was it. Nobody really cared. That's why nothing happened to him for so long. Hey, and what's the counterculture to people not caring about that sort of thing? You have now the culture that's coming in where we're hyper aware of what's happening to our children and what some adults and some, especially male adults, and sometimes female, hashtag not all men, can do. And here's my concern. These are good people. What happens when you go to cancel somebody who's not a good person? What I mean by that is Shane decided to take time. And that's not uncommon for Shane to go take a few weeks or a few months, right? And more power to him. He can do whatever he wants. Jenna Marbles said, I'm leaving. I don't know that she's come back necessarily. She might have done a video. She said, I'm leaving and I'm sorry. And they were both so apologetic and I'm sorry and I want to be better and this, that, and the other. And back then it was kind of anything goes for comedy. And minority relations weren't with Caucasians. I'm not saying things weren't wrong and bad because they were, but the tensions weren't as high, if that makes sense. And the tensions weren't as high because we didn't have social media to shine a light on all the issues that we now know for us to have compassion and understanding towards that. It makes me really sad that it took social media for us to try to humanize minorities. I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying it upsets me that it took this. It really upset. I didn't understand. I was somebody that didn't understand. Comes from my own entitlement that I've had to really dive into and look at, right? And I've just said, and also seeing what's happened to women, I'm like, wow, then minorities, especially female minorities, much gets it 10 times worse. So here's the thing. You have a lot of the people who've been canceled are people who had genuine intentions, who I think genuinely care, who are kind people. What's going to happen, y'all, when you start canceling the wrong people? The wrong people are not going to try to reason with where people at and try to find a deeper truth and be upset that they hurt people. They're going to fight back. And what happens when they fight back? You're going to have a whole lot of people who are so tired of the cancel culture. They're going to go, yeah, and they're going to be really attracted. They're going to jump on board. So I'm saying for the people who think X, Y, and Z should be canceled and that this should be an okay and normal behavior in society, it's going to backfire. And what's going to happen is it's going to backfire and you're going to get exactly what you don't want times 10. And that's my concern. But then welcome to the media manipulation. We've had the media manipulating us for so long, including, I think, the social medias. They've really stepped up their manipulation game to try to shift society in different directions. And I'm afraid it's going to create a bigger chasm and more tensity. Now, with that being said, yes, remove people who are bad people, who are hurting their audiences. I'm in 1,000,000,000% full support of that. And I would never argue that. But when you do it to everybody, it's going to backfire. Let me give you an example. Look what happened to James Charles. Remember how quickly everybody canceled James? I remember watching that and I'm like, something's not right. I sat there and I wasn't on YouTube at the time. This was during the summer of that time. Yeah, this was during the summer of 2019. So I was really fighting to stay on the planet. That was during that 3-month period where it was real touch and go and we didn't know what was going to happen. I remember watching that and I felt so bad for James. And I just sat there and I was like, I feel like I see what's going on. And I was really happy and proud of him that he stood up for himself and that he was able to swing things back in his favor. It takes somebody very strong to do that. And I'm sure he had good management helping lead the way on that because of how overwhelming that can be. But you guys don't know what it's like to have the whole of humanity turn on you and be so mean to you, be so horrible to you. And when it comes from so many people and so many places, it's like you can't get away from it. It's, we're told don't stay in a bad relationship because the toxicity is not good for you. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your health. Leave. What happens if it's the whole world coming at you and if you're innocent? Because we are creatures. We are social creatures. Human beings are social creatures and we want to connect with one another. We want community. We want togetherness. And so when the community turns on you, it is a very big, deep hurt. And I'm really tired of that anti-SJW narrative that says, you know, oh, we'll just be strong enough. Okay, well, if that's just be strong enough to let it bother you. Okay, well, if that's the case, then I guess everybody should stay in toxic situations, right? Stay in situations that are bad for you with people that are hurting for you. Why not? Just don't let it bother you. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you get the point? And this is, again, I'll have a video about this coming out, or it already did. I don't know the timing of these at some point, but this is what I want people to recognize. This is what's going to happen when you cancel good people who are trying, who are well-intentioned, and other people see it. When you cancel the wrong people who either don't care and they go harder because they're mad, or let's say the canceling was wrong and then they feel emboldened and justified, you're going to have the people like me, I'm not saying me personally, but people who are like me who are tired of watching it, and they're going to jump on the bandwagon. And society's going to become 10 times worse. And that's why I think we have to have some form of forgiveness. Now, with that being said, you don't want to be taken advantage of. So what I mean by that is, and I always detailed this in the Onion videos I used to do, you have to see that somebody is really trying to change, wanting to change, you know, making efforts to change, making efforts to help the situation. You have to have that. But you have to have forgiveness. If you don't have forgiveness, there is no incentive to change and get better. And if there's no incentive to change and get better, then your cause is just to rage. It's not to fix anything. It's just to rage. Or for a lot of these YouTubers, it's for attention and money. And that's what I wanted to go over. And I'm curious what you guys think about my breakdown of this. These are thoughts I've been having for a while that I thought, well, now that I'm back at this channel, let me brain dump them on here and see what you guys think. Sound off in the comments. Do you think I'm onto something, or do you think I'm off base? I'm always curious to hear what you guys have to say. And if you like this video, please support me and my channel. Give me a big ol' thumbs up, like the video, and subscribe, and then hit that notification button so you know when I post videos. Helps me, helps you. Like I said, leave a comment, share the content, whatever you can do helps, and I very much appreciate it. You know, I'm not going super aggressive at this channel. I'm just really having fun connecting with you guys. It's been so much fun. A lot of the negativity has just lifted, and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that I was able to get canceled and come out on the other side and come back and have a more, excuse me, ew, bodying. It's like, don't you hate that when you choke on nothing? I choked on nothing. Actually, it's probably a vagus nerve thing, because that can happen with me. So if I'm looking about to cry, I'm fine. Just coughs. Yeah, I'm really curious, and I really hope this trend, this cancellation trend changes, and we can go back to forgiveness. Here's another fun thing. Forgiveness is the cornerstone of religion and spirituality, and we have gone way far in the pendulum away from that, and I'm wondering, if part of the counterculture to that ends up being people become, you know, more religious, more spiritual, because they see that the fundamentals of the incentive to change needs to be there. Yeah, otherwise it's blind rage. Blind rage only makes destruction. Just, you know, and anger and rage are completely valid and okay, especially if you've, you know, been going through things like minorities, right? It's completely justified to feel that way, but let's channel it into making something better, in my opinion. I just want to help make things better. And I'm not saying that the people who, and this is the hard part that I feel bad about. I don't think that the people who are doing this are sitting there going, oh, I don't want to make change. I just don't think they're aware of what some of these actions are doing. So I'm just bringing them to light. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and try to get through a few other videos. I have so much fun. I love doing this. Even if I feel like crap, I love doing this. And I love, you know what I love? And this is going to sound so weird. I love knowing that I can feel like crap and still get on here and like, I'm okay now. I can just be uncomfortable. And that's awesome. Like, I know that sounds weird for me to be cheering for the fact that I don't feel great and I'm uncomfortable, but if I can do this and physically function, like, I'm happy. I think, if y'all remember, I told you guys, I'm like, I don't mind being sick. I can be uncomfortable all day, every day. I don't like it, but I can do it. What you guys saw was me terrified because I can't get this stuff to work in a very scary way. I hate having to be so roundabout when I talk about everything. Okay, guys, take care. Blessings. I'm going to see you soon to the next video. Lots of love, hugs, mwah, kisses to everybody. Bye, guys.